the runtime example of polymorphism. Abstract is a non-access modifier for classes, methods, but not variables. The general form of a class abstract is below: abstract class, class name, and then the body of the class enclosed in curly brackets. To declare a abstract method, we use this general form: abstract type, method name, and parameter list. As you can see, there's no method body in the declaration. Any concrete class that extends an abstract class is going to override all the abstract methods of the class. There are some certain rules for using abstract methods. In any class that contains one or more abstract methods must also be declared abstract. Another one is there's illegal combinations with other modifiers for methods with respect to abstract modifier. So we can combine it with final, abstract native, abstract synchronized, abstract static, abstract private, and abstract strict FP. So the program example of mine illustrates the use of abstract keywords with classes and methods. So here I declare an abstract class A with some abstract methods, and it has no body. So we see M2, M1 and M2. And then concrete methods are still allowed in abstract classes. So we're fine. And for concrete class B, it extends A. Class B must override M1 method, otherwise the compile time exception will be thrown off. So here we have B dot some objects at B dot 1, B dot M to system out, which prints out B's implementation of M2 and concrete method. So although abstract classes cannot be used to instate objects, they can be used to create object references. Because of the Java's approach of runtime polymorphism is implemented here. So in Java, we will never see like a class or method declared in both final and abstract keywords. So again, this goes back to the rules that we have, that we can't have those two together. Because in classes, the final is used to prevent inheritance, where when we use abstract classes, it depends on the child class to complete the implementation. Interface is a class-like construct that contains only constants and abstract variables. In order to access the interface method, interface must be implemented to another class. So interfaces look like a class, but they're not a class. An interface can have methods and variables just like a class, but methods declared in the interface are by default abstract. As you can see I created a public interface, my interface, and those methods declared inside there are by default abstract methods. Here in my main class, it implements my interface. This class must have an implement both the abstract methods, else it will get a compiling error. So I system outed method 1 implementation, and method 2, it's gonna system out method 2 implementation. When we call it in below, we created an interface object equals new main object dot method 1. So this method 1 is calling the first method, which spits out method 1, system out method 1 implementation. Encapsulation is the technique of making the fields in a class private and providing access to the fields by public methods. Some of these advantages of encapsulations are it improves the maintainability and flexibility and reusability of the code. Second, the fields can be made read only or written only. So this means like the one who's reading the code can only be able to read it, not edit it, or vice versa. The user Number three, the user will not be knowing what is going on behind the scenes since we set it to private. So my code on the right, I have the class encapsulation to make the instance variables private, so they cannot be accessed directly from outside the class. We have to set and get values of these variables through the method of the class. So that's why I put private int student ID, private string student name, private int student age. So in this example, all three data members are private. They cannot be accessed directly by the user. These fields can be accessed via public methods only. That's why I have these public getter and setter methods. So the fields get name, get student ID, get student age are made hidden data fields using the encapsulation technique. Access modifier helps to restrict the scope of a class, constructor, variable, method, or data member. There are four types of access modifiers. Default, which requires no keyword. Private, it has an inner class that we can use privately. And protected, visible to the package and all subclasses. And the most used one is public. If it's the class that we can see publicly. My top example, we have public class A, and inside we have int I. So the int I has no access modifier. So if it doesn't have an access modifier, by default, it's gonna be default. So that's why there's an error in the bottom of the object dot I right there. That means that it can't be accessed outside any, like, we cannot access the class outside. That's why we have an error there. So in order for it to go away, we have to put either an access modifier there of public. So what about protected, my bad. If a variable is protective, for example in the code below, we can only use it in the subsiding classes. So the next code next to it says class B extends A. So here we have class B, which extends class A. Now class B can access that variable. See right there, I declared in A has protected. So now we can use I. If we didn't have protected, we will be unable to use I. File input output. Is a stream represents an input source or an output destination. Data is saved into a file. Binary and text are types of files. The advantage is user friendly. Print writer class enables you to write formatted data to an underlying writer. Rather than byte values, we use int, log, string in the format of text. In the example right here, next we have the print writer output file equals new printer writer, which is the name, and it's the name of the text file. Fruit names. In this example, it's fruit names dot text, which is the text file. And the output files dot print I, the mango, apples, pineapples are all the stuff that's gonna go inside the file. And the output file dot close, that closes the file. And now we have we inputted the stuff into a file, and it's gonna output. We're gonna get a file at the end with the name of fruit names, and inside of that it's gonna be mango, apples, pineapples. This is a file input and output. And these are my references, and that's it. Thank you. Have a nice day.